Well, it's 3:22 in the morning, and I'm awake again. I went to sleep about midnight, and I slept 3 hours and 22 minutes before I had to get up. I'm out here in my wood shop, so I won't disturb my wife. What I found myself laying there thinking was that I found out I have Asperger syndrome, and I'm pissed. I'm pissed at how the educational system treated me, and how I've been treated by the educational system my whole life. In watching Temple Grandin the other day talk about her experience, in school, it just brought back a flood of memory. I remember getting in trouble for stupid things like, in my day we sat in rows at our desk, and we were supposed to pay attention to our book and our desk and not pay attention to anything else around us. That's hard for a person with Asperger's, because we see with our whole peripheral vision. We can focus on a task in a very strong way because it's something we're interested in. But when it comes to our actual vision, we see with our entire peripheral vision. So when I'm sitting at my desk trying to obey that rule, but I see out of the corner of my eye that the kid next to me is supposed to get out a pencil and a paper like I just did, and he has a piece of paper, but he's looking all around. He doesn't have his pencil. And so I realize I have 2 or 3 pencils. So the teacher's up there beginning the lesson. He's obviously not going to find a pencil. I take one of my pencils, I reach across the aisle to give him a pencil. He says, "Oh, thank you." He takes the pencil. The teacher notices some movement back there. What's going on? Both of you guys in trouble. That made no sense to me. And so rules like that, great cause for irritation. I hope that doesn't happen today in classrooms today. One thing that I've found about people with Asperger's is we're kind of logical, and we kind of, they say, and I guess this is true, that things are kind of black and white. What is right and what is wrong and what is good and what is bad. And when it comes to rules, we can be a stickler for rules. And I believe that's true as long as the rules themselves are logical and are black and white. We can't deal with ambiguous, and we can't deal with hypocrisy very well. And here's where the system comes in that starts to grind you down. I would be in trouble for sharing a pencil with the person beside me, and I remember the teacher telling me, "You better straighten up and fly right." And that expression on her face and that expression of her words, I could not process that. You better straighten up and fly right. That was nonsensical. I'm not a bird, and I'm not flying, and how that applies to what I'm doing here that got me in this trouble. This boy over here didn't have a pencil, and I had extra pencils. gave him a pencil. I don't see anything wrong in that. I don't see anything wrong in that. So I did not accept that I had done something wrong in my mind. But I wasn't a discipline problem. I was a good kid. I was the good, quiet Asperger kid that doesn't have meltdowns and doesn't have a fit. But I just learned to take a kind of bad treatment and accept that that's the way people do. And it's just, I didn't think there was something wrong with me. I thought there's something wrong with the teacher. I've gone through life thinking there's something wrong with these people around me because they don't understand things the way I do. I think I've always been a person that has really low self-esteem. It stems from those days. As a child, when I was eating my cereal for breakfast, I would just read the whole box. I would read the ingredients, and I would read whatever was on the back of the box and all sides of the box, and I would remember everything that I read. But and I was always interested in science kind of things. For entertainment, I sat and read the World Atlas when I was a kid, and all the things that were in the World Atlas, especially the mysterious fish that live in the deepest parts of the ocean. That they had, I believe they had some photographs of some fish at the time, but mostly they were drawings, representations of fish that had been discovered. I mean, I didn't read fiction. I wasn't so much into stories about stuff because I thought stories aren't real, and I want to learn things that are real. I only want to put things that are facts in my head. So I was strictly non-fiction kind of person. And I understand now that that is an Asperger trait. When I was in the 9th grade, I took biology. And biology, being science, was very interesting to me. And but I did horribly grade-wise. I made D's for both semesters. But I learned the material very well. I made A's and B's on all the tests. And our teacher had what's called pop quizzes, where she would give a lesson. She would give 50 minutes of a lesson, and the last 10 minutes was your pop quiz. I did very well on those. But I ran into a problem in that our teacher, and I think she told me it was in an effort to make the class passable for more students, she would give the notebook 50% of our grade. The weight of 50% of our grade was our notebook. And our notebook consisted of the notes that we took while she gave her lesson. Well, the way she gave her lesson was, she stood at the front of the class. Again, we were sitting in rows, in a traditional classroom setup. Maybe about 30 students. And she put transparencies on an overhead projector while she talked to us and told us, went through the lesson that day. And it basically went along with the format right out of a textbook. So we could read that information out of the textbook. She would go over that information with these transparencies that she put on the overhead projection. Pictures, I think in pictures. So I stayed laser focused on those pictures that she put up from the overhead projector while I listened to her describe the material. It was a breeze. It was just suited for me. That part of the class was suited for a visual thinker. Everything, every concept had a picture to associate with that concept. But we were expected to take notes. We were expected to kind of process that information, prioritize the most important points, and write those out in our notebook neatly. She would come to me and tell me that my notes weren't legible, first of all. My handwriting was so sloppy, she couldn't really read my notes, and I didn't write very much. And so I explained to her in a very, maybe a smug, know-it-all kind of attitude. I don't know for sure, but I've learned that I can have that attitude. I can project that attitude, even though I don't recognize that it's even there. But I remember telling my teacher, no, you don't understand that when I am watching what you put on the overhead projector and I'm paying attention to what you're saying, I can learn every bit of it. I can learn it. But if I stop to make a note of what you just said, while I'm writing that down, especially if I'm trying to write real neatly, I'm missing what you're saying right now, and I'm missing the next transparency that you put on that projector. And when I look back up, I'm lost, and I have to wait until I catch up. I don't really catch up, but I have to wait until I start following what you're talking about again. And if I stop at that point to start writing that down, I'm lost again. And so if I'm writing notes, I'm constantly lost in trying to follow your lesson. So, but if I just put the notebook aside, I pay attention to every word you say, I look at the pictures, that's how I can learn the material. And I told her, I think since we're here to learn, it's more important for me to learn the material than to make a good grade. And so that's why I really don't do the notebook. A whole class I could have maybe one sentence or two sentences in my notebook, and it just got pushed aside. I heard everything, learned everything else. And she told me, I have to give you an F for your notebook. She told me this more than once through that year, through the 2 semesters. Guy, please just write down what I say. Write down something of what I say and write it neatly so that I can read it. I can give you a better grade on your notebook. It'll bring your grade level up. Because I made A's and B's on all the tests and pop quizzes, and an F on my notebook. The average is a D. There's no way she could make it average other than a D. And so I got a D both semesters for biology. A couple years later, I was sitting in study hall, and a girl beside me was doing a practice test, a pre-test for her advanced biology class. And so she had it right beside me where she was filling in the answer blanks. And I was able to read the questions and see her answers. And she had gotten down near the bottom of the page, and I could see that she was she had some of the answers wrong. And being a person with Asperger's, being a know-it-all, we want to correct people. You know, when we see somebody, if you've got it wrong, we can't just let it slide. We have to correct you. As she got done with her pretest, then I reached over and pointed out where she was wrong on some of her answers, and I explained to her what the teacher would want for an answer, you know. And she looked at me suspiciously, but she took out her book and she looked back through her book. And then she told me, she thanked me. She thanked me for pointing those out. And she looked at me kind of incredulous and, you know, wanted to know how did I know the answers. And I told her, well, I'd had biology when I was a freshman. Well, she was a senior or a junior. And this had to have been in the end of my junior year. And I told her I had taken biology as a freshman. I hadn't taken advanced biology. But I told her I didn't do well in the class because half of our grade was the notes, and I made F's on the notes. And she told me, they don't take notes. In advanced biology, notes are no part of your grade. And, you know, being a different teacher and everything, and actually it was a different school, I decided from that I would take advanced biology when I'm a senior. Well, I got called to the counselor's office, and they showed me that, you know, I had signed up for advanced biology, but the teacher that teaches advanced biology would not let me take her class. And the reason she wouldn't let me take her class is because I had made 2 D's in regular biology, both semesters, a D for the year. And she didn't allow students that had made a D in biology to take advanced biology. Even though I was in the 9th grade when I made a D, and I would be a senior to take advanced biology, and I was doing well in all my other courses that year at that school. In fact, I was making all A's and B's at the end of my junior year. I would feel like I must be really smart in some way when I could grasp things easily that people around me seemed to struggle with. But there were just so many times when I struggled with something that everybody around me seemed to take in stride and just move right forward. So this is one of the things that when I think about now, it makes me really pissed. I was stopped from pursuing what might have become a great passion of my life. I didn't go into biology because I couldn't take notes legibly. I just learned about Asperger's in the last couple years. What really has me pissed now, why I woke up pissed a while ago, the stuff that runs through my head all the time, is that I realized I'm still being evaluated and graded by teachers. I married a woman that many years into our marriage decided that she wanted to be a teacher. She was tired of being a stay-at-home mom, so she started working part-time so that she could work her way through college. So she started working part-time so that she could go to school part-time. And in 8 years, she got her 4-year degree. And in like 7 more years, she got her other 3 years. So she ended up with 7 years of college. She ended up with a master's degree. So in the 21st year of our marriage, she had a master's degree. And in the 21st year of our marriage, her income passed mine. Well, I can't really go into the details of all what happened there right now, but let me explain to you that by the 30th year of our marriage, I found out that my wife and her business partners, basically, who were all teachers, had arranged our finances in such a way that would exclude me from our retirement savings. They had judged that it was important since, well, I don't know what their reasoning was, but they had judged that I was not deserving to participate in what my wife and I had agreed would be our retirement savings, her optional retirement accounts. My wife had worked full-time for 4 years when they started the first charter school in Asheville, North Carolina. And somehow at that point, and they had designed to fund that in a way that would keep that separate from me, but it was intentionally designed to never be touched by me. They thought that was important. And I talked to her best friend and mentor, lady that did most of the organization of setting up the charter school, and she told me, Guy, that's her retirement. You didn't go to college. She went to college. She deserves that retirement because she went to college. So I find myself today, I feel like I was still being judged. I was still being graded. But this time it's not just the difference between getting an A in biology or getting a D in biology. This time it is the difference between having retirement security, having a home, having savings going into those golden years, and being homeless and having nothing and having no security. They've arranged it now to where I have no retirement security because I didn't go to college. I'm pissed. This is something that didn't have to happen. They had no right to do that. They had no right to do that. But I just learned to take a kind of bad treatment and accept that that's the way people do. And it's just, I didn't think there was something wrong with me. I've gone through life thinking there's something wrong with these people around me because they don't understand things the way I do.